Hello, my name is Jason Aarstad. I'd like to talk to you today about traceability of coffee within the coffee industry and why it matters. So first off, I'd like to define my terms a little bit. Traceability is not sustainability. It's not what we're looking to talk about today, at least. That's a whole other topic. Sustainability of agricultural lands, of the industry itself, of the coffee supply that we have right now. Another whole presentation in and of itself. Same with growing methods, organic or otherwise. We're not necessarily talking about that right now. Instead, traceability is talking about how well we can trace coffee back to its origin, and how well we can tell, how accurately we can tell that story about that coffee, and how we can turn that into something that's useful for everyone throughout the product life cycle. So, a couple things we can put into this story of traceability. First of all, of course, where the coffee came from. We can often trace coffee all the way back to the farm, or at least the cooperative that the farm was a part of. Often that will just be a single valley or a single county or municipality or something like that. From there, of course, region and the country it's from are also very important. But things like elevation and direction of the hillside that's grown on, etc., all are important information and are part of the traceability of the coffee. The when and the how, of course we care about harvest date. Coffee is all about freshness, much more so when it's roasted, but green beans are also about freshness, and it matters. So we care when the coffee was harvested, we care how it was processed. We can spend hours talking about coffee processing. There's many different types, but that is a vital piece of information that definitely has a tangible effect on the flavor of the coffee, and that of course matters. Coffee is also a cyclical crop, but it grows most of the year. It just depends on the region that it's coming from. So we care about when it's available, how often it's available, and for the buyer or the producer, they need to know when they can get the coffee and how much they need to stock in order to make it through to the next growing season. The who, of course, are farmers and the cooperatives that make up that are made up by those farmers, all of this stuff adds up to a story at the end of the day. That's what we're trying to sell to the consumer at the end of the day, and that is what is enabling all these things we're about to talk about here. Also, of course, this all provides a loose guarantee of what you're getting. Coffee has only very recently become traceable. Even just 30 years ago or so, especially 100 years ago, coffee was much more of a general product that just came from outside the United States, and that was it, and we knew very little else about it as far as the consumer went. And it's now becoming much more attainable and much more easy in the age of information and the age of communication to have this guarantee that you know what you're getting. As far as all of these variables go within the coffee supply chain. So, for a little bit of context, I am a coffee roaster as well as a cafe owner. That's my perspective, that's where I come from on this topic, and that's why it matters to me. And I am a big proponent of traceability, which, of course, it sounds greedy, but money, that's why. I'm able to sell my product for more, the importer is able to sell the coffee to me for more, the farmer is able to sell their coffee to the importer for more, and that is what runs this whole engine. And the really cool thing is that almost all of this happened for capitalist reasons, and nothing was artificially created. There was needs within the market for more consistent product and a more informed consumer. So the importers took action and created a lot of these infrastructures that we're about to talk about to enable the farmer, enable the importer, enable the roaster to give the end consumer a much better product. And this all happened because people were willing to pay for it, and therefore that money trickled back to deeper in the supply chain, all the way back to the farmer, creating a better product, which of course trickles back up to that person who paid more for the coffee, et cetera, et cetera. It cycled back, it's still cycling now, it's still growing, and this is a natural capitalist process that's come about over the last 30 years or so. We're in what we call third wave of coffee right now. Won't get into what that is, but this is a new stage in the coffee industry for sure. So farmers are, of course, where everything starts. They are the beginning of the supply chain. They have been underrepresented for a long time, for centuries. They've been growing coffee forever, much more of it lately, of course. But farmers have always been the little guy in some other country besides America, and that's all anybody ever really knew. They were easy to exploit because they had very little bargaining power. They were individual farmers trying to sell their individual product. And one of the first steps was to create cooperatives, which makes it so that they can create bargaining pools, and many farmers can come together to sell their product as a single cooperative, and they can bargain much more effectively when they have that economy of scale. That economy of scale also allows them to pool their resources and equip themselves for creating higher quality product. They can have higher tech in the fields, they can have higher tech in the quality control realm of keeping track of what they are creating and how they can reproduce it, more importantly. That's what really matters to the importer and the coffee roaster. And the farmers are figuring out how to do that and how to give a well-informed product to a well-informed buyer. So these cooperatives have created a lot of opportunity for them, and this consistent product equals consistent customers who come back and buy from them season after season after season. And that makes for a sustainable industry. One of these cooperatives, Queen KTR Cooperative, these are actually some ladies from Sumatra who own their own farms, and that's not a thing that you would normally see in that part of the world. Women do not own businesses in general. But these ladies were able to create this group where they have somewhat protection from those pressures, but also a bargaining pool where they are able to sell their coffee for good money. They almost make more than a lot of people around them because they have a very enticing story, of course, that helps a lot. But I actually just had their coffee in my cafe last month, and it was really cool. Next up, of course, is the importer. They're the ones who do the groundwork. They're the ones who are in the coffee growing regions, finding the farmers, and they are also the ones who are spearheading a lot of these initiatives to help those farmers with their quality control and with their education, so the farmers know what they're growing, and they're growing according to the demands of the consumer. So they're this communications bridge between me, the buyer of the green bean, and the farmer, and what I want can be produced by the farmer because the importer is relaying that message and equipping that farmer in order to be able to do that. So the importer is getting a much higher quality product, and they have more to sell, if you will. They're not just selling a bean, they're selling a bean with a guarantee of its flavor profile, of its origin, of its freshness, and that means a lot to the importer as far as the dollars they can charge me per pound for that green bean. And it's true, I pay sometimes up to 1 1/4, 1.5 times as much as I would for a less well-traced bean than I would for one of these beans that people have done the research on. So for the importer, traceability is a direct correlation with high prices, and that's what matters most. One of these, an example of something an importer did recently in Peru. These farmers on our side of the river here had to get back to town with their product, with their people, and with their labor, of course. Bridge fell down 10 years ago, and they didn't have the money to build it, and they've been driving 20 miles up to the next bridge and back again in order to just get across the river when it's high enough. Sometimes they can walk across, but instead, this doesn't look like much, but a trolley with some cables, it was only a few $1,000s. They were able to construct it in a couple weeks or something like that, and they can transfer thousands of pounds of coffee at once. They can transfer a bunch of people at once, directly across, not a whole lot of extra travel, not wasting time, and not potentially ruining product. It was safe and it worked, and this was a small, cheap improvement that an importer could impart to their customer, if you will, and therefore they got a better product for it. So the buyer, me, the roaster, or the large corporation, or the small cafe, it doesn't really matter, they get an amazing product because of all this. The traceability enables me to know exactly what I'm getting and get it reliably. I am able to take all this information and turn it into a marketing technique of taking the obvious processes that have to go into creating coffee anyway. I can turn it into an enticing story instead and sell it that way. Customers love it. I think it's fun anyway, and it gives a lot of variety to a previously boring industry. The variety also can be embraced or avoided because I know the timing of the crop, because I know a specific bean that I'm buying might only be available during a certain time of the year. I can either stock up in order to have enough to last me through to the next growing season, or I can just account for that and I can plan to get a different coffee or know that I'm not going to be able to get that coffee at XYZ time of the year. It enables me to run my business a whole lot more efficiently. At the end of the day, also, I can feel a lot better about the product that I'm selling. It's a product that is helping everyone throughout the supply chain. Everyone's getting their fair share from beginning to end, and that's really important. And that makes my running of a business a little bit lighter on my shoulders, if you will. So finally, of course, the consumer. They're the ones who are buying this coffee from me. They're the ones who are either drinking it brewed out of my cafe or taking those beans home and brew it the next morning for their morning cup of coffee. Their taste buds are happy. That's what matters first and foremost. All of this stuff adds up to a great product. I am enabled by a great product to roast a much more informed roast of coffee. That might not make a whole lot of sense to a non-roaster, but the information is very valuable to me to be able to roast something according to what I expect it to be, and that coffee is indeed what I was told it was. And that is all enabled by all this traceability that we're talking about. The customer also gets to be well informed. They may or may not know it, but they are willing to pay for being well informed, and they love it, and the story is always fun. And whether they know anything about coffee or not, a customer is enthralled by a story about where the coffee came from, how it was grown, from a country maybe they've never even heard of. And it's almost a universally fun thing with a product like this. Education sells. It's weird to say that, but it really does work. And it's very evident within the artisan coffee industry. It's growing constantly, and there's a lot of numbers out there showing that I'm not going to say the commercial side of the industry is going down, but the artisan side of the industry is definitely booming, and there is a huge amount of room in the market for more artisan coffee. Even though it feels like it's flooded, it's not. And almost any well-run cafe that produces traceable coffee like this does well today. And of course, the coffee or the money from these consumers enables this whole supply chain. Everything we're talking about wouldn't happen unless the consumers are paying more at the end of this whole product life cycle. The US alone spends $40 billion on coffee, and that equates to about 3 billion pounds of coffee a year. That's of course everyone, artisan or not, but those are some huge numbers, some huge leverage, and those kind of dollars can go a long way in improving the lives of everyone down the supply chain. And it's worth it. It really does work, and it has worked over the last 20 years. And if we keep this model going, I think it's going to get even better. Finally, inclusion, like I said, there's room to grow. This industry is not tapped out, the market is not flooded, and it seems like things can just keep on growing. I am not going to claim to be an expert on that portion of things, but this model that we have going now contributes to this industry being trustworthy, being fair for everyone down the line, being stable. The supply and the cost is stable right now. There's a lot to talk about within the stability that we don't have time for today, but growth is there, growth is happening, and it will continue to happen if we keep following this model of promoting the traceability of coffee. Tracking this product throughout its life cycle creates a story. That's classic marketing. That is so important when you're trying to sell a product, especially a product that a consumer might be ignorant about, to tell them a story about it, and they love it, and they pay for it. At the end of the day, the consumer is also in some ways making a decision to vote with their dollar and vote to to perpetuate this industry, and you and I can go to the store and find the coffee that is traceable and decide to pay for that or not. It's all worth it, and it's all going to be interesting to watch over the next 10 or 20 years. Thank you very much.